Some of the biggest news in the Valorant space this past week was over e-dating. And yeah, it sounds about what probably you guys would expect. Between two creators and figures in the Valorant space, one known as Sagemommy 69 and Jettdaddy 69. That was the big drama this past weekend, and yes, those are legitimate names. For those of you out of touch with the situation, these two dated or e-dated in the scene, and yes, they were both creators making content together and benefiting greatly from the fact they had this relationship together as Jettdaddy and Sagemommy, the e-daters in the Valorant space. It was this past week, though, where Jettdaddy, and I'm just going to refer to him as Jett, and the woman in this as Sage, because saying daddy and mommy all video long is not something I really want to do, but it was Sagemommy, for the last time, who is actually continuing to make TikToks and posts about Jett, which he was getting irritated by because they ended their relationship actually 4 to 5 months ago, late in 2023, and he wants to point out the fact that she was actually still talking about him on multiple occasions, which he didn't really like, considering that they had ended whatever they had between them. As they apparently ended their things back in September of 2023, 4 to 5 months ago, and then she was still uploading TikToks like this in the past week referencing him.
I had always wanted to. I had always imagined that I would show my face again and get to be myself and do things, because I like doing that. I like myself. I like being able to stream as myself. Jettdaddy and Sagemommy were a really fun character, but I wanted that to eventually get to just be him and I and doing things. But he didn't want a face reveal, so I kept waiting, pushing it back until he wanted to do it, because I wanted to do it with him. And then ultimately he was like, okay, I'm not doing it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna face reveal before TwitchCon then, so I can go to TwitchCon. But then we broke up, and then I tweeted about it, and people took that as me tweeting about it, as in oh, we broke up, I'm gonna face reveal now. But it's that was always the plan. I was always face revealing at that time.
To which he then called out, said, "You're milking it now. We never officially dated. We were friends who built a brand together. We had a falling out right before you were planning on face revealing, very convenient, and you took it to Twitter for publicity. Now stop bringing me up and calling me your ex. Anyone who knows me understands I hate drama, and I've kept at it for the 2 years I've been doing this. But seeing a new YouTube video or TikTok where I'm being mentioned and getting my name dragged through the mud has been an irritating, to say the least." Quote unquote, she isn't dragging your name through the mud. We decided to part ways almost half a year ago, and she's still posting TikToks, YouTube videos, etc., talking about me, and it's never in a positive light. Constantly referencing me in a negative tone opens up negative conversations about me. Quote, "Why didn't you talk about this privately? When we parted ways, she blocked and removed me off of everything and posted about the breakup. I didn't want the initial drama, so I responded wishing her all the best and left it there." And at face value, this is just an e-dating relationship, which it's very memeable. It's very easy to make light and make jokes of the situation, and I think that's part of the reason why these two definitely grew together and did a lot of big moments and made a lot of money probably doing this partnership, whatever it was. And then apparently throughout all of this, the heartbreaking thing for those who actually followed them very closely, was not myself, is people found out they were never actually dating. It was all a facade. It was a business partnership where Jettdaddy 69 and Sagemommy 69 were started to make content. And maybe there were some things that happened behind the scenes and they had a little fling of e-datership, but they never even met in person and they never even officially dated. Which you can think about that what you want. Part of me gives it credit, but also part of me is you got to expect that eventually down the line, your fans are going to find out, you're going to have to be honest about it, and you're going to be faced with situations like this, where when you break up, one of you is going to keep on using the situation for content, right? And very clearly here, Jett is upset with the fact that she's doing this, which is understandable because they broke up months ago, so he calls it out on Twitter. What we then got after that was a response from Sage, and it was a read. I'll give you guys that. It was a very interesting read, which I'm going to take you guys back to my computer to do together. Oh my, this is going to be a good one, as she opens up with this twit longer, y'all. And she says, "My relationship with Jettdaddy." And I just want to warn you, we get into that said relationship. I've tried to write this so many times now and have always ended up sharing and over-explaining unnecessary details, so I'm going to try and just respond to what his tweet implied. He claims we never officially dated, and that is true. I always thought this part was funny because she goes, he claimed this, and he's right. However, to say we were just friends who built a brand together is an insane understatement. Behind the scenes, it was so much more. While we never officially dated, we did basically everything that e-daters would do. Oh, God. We're just out there saying that stuff? What is that even? What do e-daters typically... I don't even... we never officially dated because we wanted to meet first. And that's fair. That's fair. There wasn't feelings there. That doesn't mean there wasn't feelings there in a bond that was formed. I referred to him as my ex because that is how we presented it to the public. I will now refer to him as my former business partner. And that's very fair. As for the timing of the face reveal and him claiming it was convenient, he knew it was happening at that time, and it was part of the reason he felt that we should end things. I will add his text to show that it's not fair for him to act like I did out of nowhere when that was not the case. And we go to those texts, and she says, which if you are, that's fine, but I don't want to be strung along if you're done. He goes, it's hard to balance time with my friends, family, also time for myself and streaming. I mean, I don't know, Jess. What's our options here? You're a great person, I mean that, but with every month that passes, it just feels like there's less to be holding on to. And especially with your face reveal coming up, I'm sure your stuff is going to be taking off even more, and I don't even know what I'm going to be doing with streaming at that point. Feels like crap every time I hit go live. I look forward to everything around it now. And that's pretty much her refuting the fact of the convenience of her face reveal, because he tried to argue she was doing that for a financial gain, which is still very true. But she also argues that face reveal, despite their relationship ending, was going to happen no matter what. She was eventually going to face reveal. So fair point to her. She does prove that to me in this situation. But that's not the big part of all of this, right? It's really just a relationship that was not really a relationship, and we're all finding out about it together. Why couldn't we handle things in private? He made that impossible by dropping a tweet instead of just messaging me. I don't know if this point is very fair because you have been posting consistently, or at least numerous times, about him, and he's also confirmed that you did block him or remove him from social media, and you're also posting about him without messaging him. So expect or treat others maybe how you expect to be treated. You're posting about him without permission, and then you're surprised he calls you out for it without permission. I understand some of the things should be handled privately, and they later admit to that, but tit for tat. If he hates drama so much, why tweet this? Because he wants you to probably stop posting about him. Why not try and find a way to contact me and tell me you don't want to be brought up? I would have respected that and deleted vids and stopped mentioning you. He is not blocked and hasn't been for a long time. I also do not feel like I have been talking about him negatively. Sure, when everything first went down, I didn't handle things well, referencing a tweet that went out. I was really hurt by the situation and acting out of emotion. I will always regret how I acted when we decided to stop doing business. Danny was a very important person in my life, but in order to move forward, I could no longer speak to him. And I understand what she's saying. This should have been handled privately, and I'm sure he could have found a way. But also, whenever you bring up an ex, think about the diehard fans that you guys have as Sage and Jett. Like, the diehard fan base is probably going to split. The Sage fans are going to go for her, the Jett fans go for him, and they're likely to take sides in that. So whenever you bring up an ex, whether or not you think the connotation is negative, he's going to get some flack, right? Like, he is 100% going to get flack for that. Even though you don't see it as negative, I get that. But these situations often end up splitting an audience and the fan base, and it does bring out a lot of negativity, especially when you're called Jettdaddy and Sagemommy. There's natural negativity online. He was a huge part of my life, and whether or not we were officially dating or not, losing whatever we had really effed me up. Recently, I've just been talking about myself briefly about him when it is relevant, and I never intended to bash him or send hate his way. I just want to open up and share my experience with face revealing. I brought him up as he was a part of that. Him and I were so tied together that if I want to talk about anything that happened in the past year and a half, of course he's going to be a part of it in some way. He was a big part of my life at that time. And then after all of that, which I think I can understand where both are coming from to certain degrees, I feel a bit more for Jett in this situation because their business partnership, their partnership was over for months and months. And the way that he has handled people talking about her has been just referencing the same tweet he's already had up there, whereas she has been using the situation for content, even months down the line. And from his point of view, every time she brings him up, negativity comes his way from a relationship, which has been over for quite some time and never really even was a relationship. He took one last time to Twitter to explain this in about a 3-minute explanation, which I think is pretty fairly worded because he criticizes himself and some of the things he did, and also gives credit to some of her response stuff. about their relationship. And hopefully this is the last that they ever have to freaking talk about it.
Hey guys, I was really hesitant on even going over all of this. At a certain point, I felt like it got too far and I want to take it to the DMs, but I think it's pretty evident that that didn't go anywhere. And I figure there's no harm in making one final statement for those who care to listen. If you don't care, which I'm sure a lot of you don't, just scroll. I just want to preface this by saying, I know this whole situation was silly, but I also still stand with everything that I've said to this point. So looking at the doc, the first statement is about how I claimed we never officially dated and it's technically true. And you spend the majority of this doc trying to justify that we had something and although it was never official, there was something there. This wasn't even the main argument to my first tweet. I genuinely didn't think this is something that we would have to go back and forth about. And I think that playing devil's advocate here, even if we did date, my point still stands. How you completely cut contact with me and then proceed to bring me up 5 months later. No matter the circumstances behind the scenes, the truth is you blocked or removed me off everything and then proceeded to make a YouTube video, multiple shorts, TikToks, and tweets referencing me way after the fact. At what point does it become too much and it goes from clearing the air with your chat to milking the situation at my expense? I will say that me putting the very convenient in my initial tweet was pretty uncalled for. There's just assumptions, there's no proof behind it. But when everything went down, you blew it out of proportion and you used it for personal gain, which at first I didn't even care about. If you want to get your bag, get your bag. I'm not stopping you from doing that. And I damn well did not want the drama. So I sat silent, tried to be as respectful as possible about the situation and let you do your thing. But clearly that was a mistake because 5 months later, I'm still being brought up. Let's not forget that I'm dealing with the same exact stuff, the same chatters that you do. Every single time I hit go live, I have people asking about you. And all the information I put out on the matter is the tweet. And whenever people ask about it, I've told my mods to just delete the message, link them to tweet with the context, and then we leave it there. You also bring up multiple times that we should have handled things in private and that I should have DM'd you and that you didn't even block me, but we both know that's not true. You quite literally admitted to blocking me, but quote unquote only for a week. Saying why not try and find a way to contact me and tell me you don't want me to be brought up is so out of touch. I'm not going to try to jump through hoops to try and contact someone who clearly wants nothing to do with me unless it's for personal gain and views on TikTok. I'll at least give you credit where you confront the fact that you deleted your tweet about going through texts as it was quote unquote icky and you shouldn't have said it. And I'm happy that we can find a common ground and we can both agree that leaking private DMs is not a cool thing to do. Alright, so in your first text that you posted about us, you tried to say that one of the reasons we broke up is because you're face revealing, and I just feel like that's a really weird way to frame it. There's only so much context that you can put into one screenshot, and my point was pretty much saying that me personally, I'm not very long term with streaming. I understand it's not something that I'm gonna do until I'm 60 years old, and I don't want to put all of my eggs in one basket and face reveal and potentially close future doors. Meanwhile, you want to put your everything into streaming, and I respect that, but we are just gonna continue to take our brands in different directions, and I wanted to encourage you to do your own thing. You also added our final texts where you did admit that we never really dated, and you also left in that did you unfollow me on Twitter, which I'm not gonna lie, looking outside in, it does seem super immature and I understand that completely. That was like the first thing that I brought up, but in my head I was just trying to reopen the conversation because I knew that when she unfollowed me on Twitter, she was gonna take it public, and at the point she takes it public, it's completely out of my control and I don't know what she's gonna say. I didn't know if she was going to frame it as parting ways or breaking up. I didn't know that she was going to refer to me as her ex. There's no discussion on how we're going to bring this to light and tell our community what happened. So although I do admit that the did you unfollow me on Twitter seems very self-absorbed, there is a little bit of reasoning behind it. Anyways, I'm sorry for the shitstorm that ensued. And as again, I understand how fucking stupid this is, and I'm sorry we couldn't solve this in private. Anyways, thank you to my community for backing me, and thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys have a great day.
At the end of the day, I couldn't help but like witness this Valorant E-drama as some of the weirdest stuff I've ever had to talk about. I wish no ill will towards either of these people, but it's also hard for me to feel bad in a situation where you both clearly knew what you were doing. I wouldn't say manipulating an audience, but you knew what you were doing, all right? You took advantage of some amiable names and your e-dating relationship for some financial gain, and ultimately that's going to have some repercussions when those things become public. Now, I do feel bad if they had feelings and how the things have been handled on social media, but Sagemommy and Jettdaddy are no more, and Sagemommy will continue to be Sage, and Jettdaddy's going to do his own thing. And like he even said, they're very much going two different paths in their careers in gaming. And so be it. What do you guys think about the biggest e-dating drama of the century? Till next time, take care of yourselves, okay? Truly, take care of yourselves. We'll see you back here sometime soon. Bye-bye.